Welcome today. I've got George Davis, the owner of Muse Coffee Shop here in Chicago. How's it going, man?
Everything's good, man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. So, just a little bit of introduction. You got a coffee shop here near West Side of Chicago. Great music, great vibes, great art from Chicago. Most importantly, great coffee. Um, where did you find your passion for coffee? How did that start?
Man, interestingly enough, I actually found myself with a much stronger connection to coffee shops before I even liked coffee on that level. Um, and I would say the seed was probably planted in undergrad. I went to Clark Atlanta University, and when we were out there, we share a library with Spelman and Morehouse, and what I mean, it gets cracking in there. They used to call it Club Woody.
Yeah,
Uh, a lot of the little restaurants that was right there on campus, they perfect for those late night food runs and all of that. But like, I used to always think, man, it would be dope if we had a coffee shop. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
where we could go study, talk
Yeah.
shit. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case
Yeah.
is. But it not be as restrictive as the library or as chaotic as some of the restaurants or little hangout spots would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was something that I would always think about, but really just in a very abstract type of way.
Right.
Um, and then once I really started to drink coffee, which wasn't until grad school,
Mhm.
um, it started as like gas station coffee, just having something that wasn't an energy drink, wasn't a Red Bull, but something that would keep us up for the study groups. You know what I mean? The
Right.
late night study sessions or whatever. And I would get the coffee and dump so much flavored creamer and all types of whatever, just so it'd be palatable. You did,
Right.
and from there, it kind of just grew to like, all right, well, let me see what real coffee is supposed to taste like. No disrespect to gas station coffee, but that's kind of what the interest was sparked. And then when I started to check out coffee shops, like I said, it really was more of a connection with the different spaces that I would go in, and less of a desire to really like I had never gone into a place and was like, all right, I'm gonna try everything on the menu, or
Right.
let me taste this coffee and see how it compares to the other coffee that I've had. It really would be like, man, this space is dope. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, me thinking like, what would my space look like? What would my story be?
Yeah.
Once I had an opportunity to kind of get on that side of it. So that's where it was sparked, and then that's kind of how it evolved.
Man, no, that's awesome. So you fell in love with the idea of just a cool spot that served coffee. Like, no,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Tell me about your as you were thinking about what your space would look like. What were your goals? Like, what were the things that you were super passionate about this space looking like? How did you create your vision?
Honestly, for me, it was less about what is this space going to look like and what is this space going to make people feel. And so a lot of it would be, kind of like a mental Pinterest board. You know what I mean? Like me and my wife would go to a spot and it'd be like, man, this is dope, but it's missing this. And then I would kind of make a mental note of it, or man, that's fly. But if I was doing it, I would do it like this. You know what I'm saying? And I make a mental note on it. And then, it got to a point where I had enough of that kind of just up here. And then again, it's just wanting to tell my story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And share the things that inspired me, and that really was the biggest piece of it.
Yeah.
What can we put in the space that um really speaks to what inspires us creatively. And by us, I mean, my wife, my kids, my guys that I grew up with. You know what I'm saying? my family,
Yeah.
anybody who has touched my journey in any type of way. You know what I mean? Like that's what I think
Yeah.
about. And so it's like, what kind of space will we enjoy? What kind of space? What could we put in this space that we would want other people to engage with, that we would want other people to experience? You know what I'm saying? And so that's sort of how we built it. And it was kind of from like the experience out. Like
Yeah.
how do we want people to feel when they come, and how do we want people to feel when they leave?
Yeah.
And then we just kind of put the pieces together from there.
How would you, because I've been in the shop. I love the space. I was telling you the other day, I want to try to come in there on a weekend where I can sit down, not after I get killed by my trainer, and can barely walk. But how would you describe the shop to the listeners, to people that have never been there?
Man, how would I describe Muse Coffee Studio? It's an experience. It's for me, it is both sort of a piece of art and a blank canvas. It is intersection of the music, the art, the books, the all the things that sort of inspired me. And then the blank canvas piece of it is like, when you come in with your colors, you know what I'm saying? Like what is that going to look like once you experience, the space? You know what I'm saying? How is that going to add on? You know what I'm saying? What when you come on that weekend and you sitting there and you like, man, okay,
Yeah.
I can see this happening. You know what I'm saying? And you start to get some ideas going.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And there's so many customers who come in and they're like, man, I got this thing that I don't even use at the house anymore. It would be perfect for here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people come through, customers like, yo, have you ever heard this song? Last time I was here, you was playing this artist that reminded me of this artist. You know what I'm saying? Are you familiar? And they put me on stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so
awesome.
From that perspective, it's like, it's an exchange. It's a conversation. You know what I'm saying? It's me and my piece of it, and then you and your piece of it.
Yeah. No, I love the fact that you've been so intentional about the feeling that people have, and it's not a one-way feeling, right? Like you're allowing your customers to influence your experience of the studio itself too. So that's really cool. I haven't heard someone talk about their business and their space in a way. So that's really cool. So let's, this podcast is really focused on entrepreneurs, what it's like to start a business. How do you get over those fears, those challenges, the things that you don't expect? So kind of as you had this vision of what it felt, what you wanted the space to feel like, right? And it being kind of centered around this experience where people could enjoy coffee and do their work and exchange ideas. What was your first action to turn this into a real business?
Really, the audacity to believe I could.
What did that look like for you?
You said what?
What did that look like for you?
Man, so you remember I said it was something that I thought about and then talked about enough that it really was abstract. And so that first action, like the first real action, was sort of grabbing all those abstract pieces and actually saying, all right, you can actually do this. You know what I'm saying? This is something that could actually happen if you stop treating it like it's abstract and actually treat it like it's something that can materialize. And so having that sort of confidence from the beginning was helpful, because along the way, I bumped into so much self-doubt, just in terms of like, you hit one milestone during the process, And it's like, okay, we got from A to B, cool.
Yeah.
But then you start looking at, P, Q, R, S down the road, and you're like, man,
Yeah.
getting from point A to B felt easy, or felt
Yeah.
cool, or felt like, all right, I could do that. But then you got a lot of more steps to go. And so,
Right.
Starting from that place of like, this can happen. This can be a
Right.
real thing, and you can do it.
Right.
That I feel like that was the first step, because without that, I would still kind of just be talking about it as like I'm gonna have a coffee shop one day. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. What so as you got through action A, B, C, and you're kind of riding that wave because everything's momentum, right? So
Yeah.
that snowball's rolling. What was the first rock that you hit? What was that P or Q where you're just like, oh, you start looking around?
So, we had the extra challenges of doing this during the pandemic. And so when we initially started our build out process, we were scheduled to get started maybe the third week of March. And we
2020.
had, yeah.
Okay.
And so we had been planning, we had, submitted our drawings to the city, rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
And then everything shut down, like literally a week, if that, before we were, before the guys were supposed to get to work.
Right.
Build out. And so, that was the first thing I was like, all right, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And the reality in that moment was that like we had come too far to stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Certain checks had already been cut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were already paying rent.
So you guys had already signed on the space you were paying for. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was like, all right, well, let's just kind of stay close.
Yeah.
Closer than we would have, and pivot where we need to pivot, adjust where we need to adjust. And so, we included a pickup window, which wasn't a part of the initial plan. And because of that, that meant that we had to add a bar that wasn't a part of the initial plans.
Right.
Which took away from space that we initially thought we would have for seating. But again, it's a whole pandemic. So we don't even know if people are gonna be able to come inside anyway. So who needs a seat? You understand?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I would say like that was the first like whoa moment right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's so fascinating. Like you have this once in a lifetime, once in a generation, once in a century event, right? That literally shuts the world down. How I'm just thinking about where my mind would go. How did the thought of, is this a sign, ever pop up in your mind where it's like, is this a sign that we got to stop? Like, did you ever have any doubt that was kind of so macro or meta that made you rethink things?
Honestly, again, for me in that moment, it wasn't so much, is this a sign we should stop? It really was more like, we've come too far, and you've invested too much energy into getting to this point right here. And so, I knew it was a race to the start line. You know what I'm saying? Like we weren't even racing yet. You know what I'm saying? Like this was us trying to get to the start.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, it certainly was an obstacle, and it certainly was scary, but at the same time, it's like, for me personally, because I'm naturally an introvert. I'm not, I had never worked in coffee before, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the fact that I had gotten to the point to where I was
Yeah.
making real progress on it, it took a lot to get there.
Yeah.
And so I would say the fact that we had a space that we actually could build out on was sign enough that it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
That running into that first bump and running into the fact that, man, the world could be shut down. Like at that point, it just was like,
We
all
doing
right,
this.
let's put our dancing shoes on, you know what I'm saying? And figure out how we gonna do this. But we definitely gonna dance because
Yeah.
we already at the party.
Yeah. So you talked about the work to even get to the starting line. Like how did you guys land on the location? How did you even find the space?
Man, again, to your last question, you know, all of these things were just lining up to where it was hard to look at some of the obstacles as signs to not do it because again, we had gotten to where we were in
Yeah.
the first place. And so we live maybe about 6 blocks away from where the shop is.
Yeah.
And our realtor who, you know, we have been working with for 6, 7, 8 years, you know what I'm saying? He is the one who helped us find our house. And we had talked to him about it. And so just was like, you know, keep your eye open for any, you know,
Right.
commercial space. If anything close comes, because when we were talking to him about it, again, it was still abstract. It was still just like, you know, gassing yourself into thinking you're making progress by just saying out loud, like,
Yeah.
we want to open a coffee shop. Let us know if anything is available.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so when he would send stuff over, we would be like, all right, it's worth checking out. And we would look at it and be like, you know, that's when that self-doubt started to kick in and the things that were abstract that are now a reality because you're standing in the middle of a space looking at it and you're looking at actual numbers of like what it's going to cost to be in that space. And it's so easy in that point to be like, nah, it's not time yet. It's not time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so the fact that this space just popped up on the market, you know what I'm saying, after we had been in this neighborhood for so long, and we went and checked it out, and you know, it looked like what we needed. You know what I mean? And we had some back and forth conversation, and you know, decided that okay, we'll wait. We'll wait about 6 months, give it half a year. Let's see where we are.
Yeah.
And then a couple months after that, the agent who showed us the spot reached out and was like, man, I've always wanted to get into gallery space where you guys were here. I know you were talking about, focusing on art in the coffee shop. Let's share the space. You know what I'm saying? I can do my art in the back. You do your thing in the front. We share the little area in the middle. For half the rent. I'm like, it's hard to beat that. You know what I'm saying? And so, again, all these things just kind of started to line up in a way that was just like hard to ignore or minimize in that way.
Right.
So at that point, it's like you're either gonna do it or you're not.
Yeah. And I love the idea of sometimes those casual conversations, even though they're abstract, just those casual conversations with people, those people are taking you serious. So those people are going to be your allies that are just saying, oh yeah, there's a space that popped up. They see an article and be like, oh, I think this is be really cool. They hear, a garage sale and they find something that's really dope that aligns with what you said. The power of that being momentum, I think, can be underestimated sometimes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So you got the shop open. You got through the pandemic, right? what was those first couple weeks, those first couple months? What surprised you? What things did you not expect? What challenges arose that you were just like, didn't know that I'd be dealing with this?
Again, it's weird because, the whole time, when you're building out, because that was my first time dealing with any of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the thick of it, you know what I'm saying? Like you heads down, you kind of just doing it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see it when you're doing it.
Yeah.
So by the time I actually was open, I hadn't even really had a chance to look up to be like, man, I'm actually open. You know what I'm saying? It almost felt kind of like a continuation from building out and getting stuff ready to actually serving coffee.
Yeah.
So that first week, those first couple weeks, it was mostly me trying to shake off the anxiety of like, are people going to be able to tell that I've never had a job in coffee? You know what I'm saying? Is this steam wine going to be so loud on this milk that somebody going to be like, you don't know how to do that? You know what I'm saying? You've never worked in coffee, sir. And so a lot of that first couple weeks was me, almost like looking over my shoulder while I'm making drinks to see if, and like, do they know that
are they judging me?
Like, you know what I'm saying? And then serving people, and then kind of just trying to watch to see how, how they react when they're experiencing the drinks. And so a lot of those first couple of weeks was me really trying to balance that fear and have it balance more with like the confidence that I actually do know what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think so. What's so fascinating to me, and I think it's pretty dope to think about, is like you said, you hadn't really worked in coffee before, but in your mind, the vision for this business was the space. So in many ways, the value prop is the space, right? Yeah. And you're kind of learning, developing the coffee aspect of it, but at the same time, and I think you see me do this, like while you're waiting for your coffee, you're just kind of looking around and you're like, oh, that artwork is really cool. Yeah. Well, I think the other day I asked you about a record player that you have it there. Like it's I can understand the self-doubt creeping in, but what you built this around was really what people were focusing on at the same, at the end of the day. And that's kind of fascinating to me.
Well, because to me, coffee is a commodity. You can get it anywhere.
Yeah.
From the gas station to, you know what I'm saying, the big chains to all of the local spots. And so by no means am I saying it's a side dish.
Right.
But, if you have a coffee shop and you don't have that piece right, forget about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so obviously I wanted to make sure that I got that part right.
Right. Yeah.
But in my head, it's like, once you get that part right, it's done. That is covered. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And now you have to really focus on the experience, because what's going to keep people coming back? Because I'm not delusional to think that, you know what I'm saying, I got some magic cup of coffee that's gonna, you know what I'm saying, change the world. But I know our stuff is good. Don't get me wrong.
It is. Yeah, very much so.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's vanilla latte.
Yeah.
Yep. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Everybody don't have our playlist though. Everybody don't have, the art that we have. Everybody doesn't have just the vibe that we've put together. And so that's the part where I was like, all right, where do we want to get our beans from? Our first stop was the place that was one of our favorite places. You know what I'm saying? So we reached out to them. It's Metric. We get our beans from Metric. They were easy to talk to. They were responsive. They were, you know what I'm saying, very open to sharing information in a way that was just like, I just met y'all, and y'all telling me, you know, out the gate, just being very transparent. And so it was like, I'm not gonna keep looking and confuse myself, or you know what I'm saying, overthink it. Like, this is working. All right, what's the next step? You know, they worked with me on kind of building out what the menu should look like. We put some drinks together. People tasted them and said, "Do it." And so I'm like, all right, that box is checked. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Repeat that process every time somebody orders this, and then that part is covered. You know what I'm saying? And so to me, it really was about how can we make this space a place that people want to come back to.
Yeah.
It can't just be the coffee.
Can't just be the coffee. Yeah. So I like how you say, you know, coffee is a commodity, right? Especially in Chicago, you can find a coffee shop every corner, right? I used to go to Metric before I discovered your shop, because it's on the other side of my house, right?
Right.
So how did you approach attracting people to your business and kind of just building a customer base, given the fact that people that usually make coffee runs already have a coffee shop that they go to?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is the community. A lot of it is the people who live in that area who just walked by, saw that we were there, walked by, maybe heard the music, came in, you know what I'm saying? Social media is a big part of it. People stopping in, posting about us, tagging us, you know, other people seeing, a lot of word of mouth. And then, like I said, that and being able to, you know, it's a small shop. And so being able to have conversation openly with folks and really have that immediate feedback in some instances, good or bad. You know what I'm saying? Because if somebody comes in and they're like, man, that mirror is dope, I'm like, all right, we did that right. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. You know, somebody's like, oh man, where'd you get that picture from? Oh, that's one of the homies. You know what I'm saying? You should check them out. And in the back of my mind, all right, got it. Like, so if I'm able to see, all right, people really like the art, then I know, all right, what other art do I need to, you know, incorporate into the space? How can I kind of continue to elevate those elements? And so in the almost 9 months that we've been there, you know, we've added some pieces. And every time we add something, people notice it. And so it's really that opportunity to say, all right, what have the people been appreciating about the space? And noticing, okay, that's what's bringing them back. You know, people like the lavender. I didn't know that lavender was a big deal like that. You know what I'm saying? Until people were like, man, this jamming. You know what I'm saying? And so now I'm like, all right, well, how else can we keep using the lavender? You know what I'm saying? So we put it with the matcha, put it with the chai. You know what I'm saying? And just kind of continuing to evolve and kind of build off what people are already appreciating. And then that just creates that organic, you know, word of mouth. Like, I can't tell you the number of people that's like, they'll come in, man, people have been talking about this lavender latte all on the Facebook group. Let me get that. All right, cool, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody come in, man, my cousin been telling me about this space. I live right down the street. Didn't even know y'all was there. So like, I haven't even really had to do any marketing yet. Because we've just really been focused on that organic growth and making sure that, you know, what we have is not only enjoyable, but sustainable. Because the minute we start really pushing it like that, and we start really getting a bunch of foot traffic in there and a bunch of people in there, you know, we have to be able to sustain what people enjoy, because that's what's going to keep people coming back.
Yeah. And I love the fact, like, in like the tech startup space, people always talk about traction, and listen to your customers. And I think it's no different from, you know, brick and mortar shop, right? Like a place where you walk in. I love that you're listening to customers, and whatever form of feedback that comes, you're translating that into, okay, I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to do less of that. And that kind of brings people back because it shows that you're listening. So no, that's awesome. So talk to me a little bit more about kind of sustaining, right? Like you said you want to make sure that as you implement these things, one, you listen to your customers are liking it, you want it to be sustainable. What does Muse look like 5 years from now?
Man, that's a good question. I think honestly, because people have asked, you know, would I be interested in opening another shop somewhere else, or, you know, opening a second location?
Awesome. 9 months in.
Crazy. As cool as that sounds, we put so much of ourselves into this spot. It's hard for me to even wrap my mind around how to recreate that somewhere else, because what makes it special is how personal a lot of the stuff is. And so, you know, in 5 years, I don't know if it's another location or just, you know, I could certainly see doing like a coffee truck, and having the opportunity to be mobile in a way that, you know, you don't have to recreate that same space, but have something that allows you to carry some of that carry some of that personality from the shop around the city. You know what I'm saying? I could see 5 years from now having a sort of a larger piece of the merchandise pie, doing more collaborations, to where, you know, we're able to work with different artists, different musicians, different creatives to kind of just build more on the merchandise side. Maybe putting ourselves in a position where we can have, you know, certain things in-house, you know, a studio or something like that, where people can actually come create. You know, maybe we 5 years from now, me and you doing our own podcast or something from right there in the front. You know what I'm saying? So I really want to, in 5 years, be able to continue to just add branches to, you know, what we've planted right now. Continue to grow that in a way that we can, like I said, branch off to start doing more of the creative stuff that the space sort of exists to inspire, if that makes sense.
No, that's dope. I love the idea of the evolution of the space, right? And because it's still centered around the space. You talked about how personal the shop is, but at the same time, it's your business. It's not you, right? So how do you manage the separation of those two things? How do you integrate the hectic lifestyle of an entrepreneur with family life, but then also keep it separate so that when you have a bad day at home, it doesn't mean a bad day of business, and a bad day of business doesn't translate to a bad day at home?
Honestly, because I it's funny you say that the hectic life of an entrepreneur, because honestly, I honestly thought it would be easier to wear that badge, of an entrepreneur, but like I said, I've been so nonstop that it's hard to even really look at it like that. And so it really just feels like I'm getting up to go to work, not necessarily, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
obviously I know I don't have to go in and clock in or ask anybody, can I leave or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But it still doesn't necessarily feel like um what it is, if
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah.
any sense at all. So in some ways it's easy to have that separation because I know all right, it's time to get up, time to get dressed, time to go to work. When I'm in there, I'm experiencing it the same way you are. So,
Yeah.
I come in, I cut the music on, I'm feeling better. Whatever,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like if it started out as a tough morning, by the third song, I'm zoned
Yeah.
out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Um, I make myself a cup of coffee. You know what I'm saying? Now I am feeling a little more on point. You know what I'm saying? And so, I'm looking at the art. I'm thumbing through some of the books. Some of the magazines. And so, from that perspective, I'm experiencing the same thing in the same way that everybody else is. Um, and then when I leave, I go straight to pick the kids up. And
Yeah.
so it's easy to say, all right, when I leave here, I'm gone.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously there's times where I have to, you know, order inventory and do, stuff that I wasn't able to do while I was at the shop because I'm, serving customers. And so I couldn't just lock in on a computer to do some of that sort of administrative stuff.
Right.
Uh, some of that stuff, I get back to at the end of the day, or just really make a note to get it done when I get in the next morning. But it's easy to disconnect when you got two kids telling you they need to hear, you know, some kids bop jam. Uh, one of them want apple juice, the other one want, some sour worms or something like that. Like, I'm not thinking about the coffee shop at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to keep these kids from driving me crazy. And so, from that perspective, it's easy to have that separation because when I'm out of there, I'm all the way in, dad mode, husband mode.
Yeah.
Um, and then once once we get them down, I can maybe tap back into shop owner mode,
Right.
start getting some more stuff done. And so from that perspective, I've managed to kind of make that in and out transition fairly easy.
Yeah. No, I love what you said in terms of you're enjoying the space just as much as I am, right? Like, you know, you're getting work done in your shop because you enjoy it, right? It's
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I'm gonna be real with you. One of my biggest fears right now is that I'm gonna end up on somebody's Instagram story dancing while I'm, what I mean, putting a drink together. Because sometimes you really do get locked in, and I'm, getting the drink ready, and I'm
Yeah.
outstanding or something to come on the thing, the Gap band. I'm
Yeah.
gone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm all the way in.
I bet you the customer would love it too. It's nothing better than some coffee made with love.
I be having to catch myself sometimes, like, bro, you gotta relax. Like, you gotta keep it together.
Kind of in this experience as becoming an entrepreneur, doing coffee for the first time. What's something that you would say you wish you knew before you started?
What I wish I would have known specifically is how much or how quickly I would get to the point where I felt like I definitely need, that extra pair of hands around the spot. Because again, at the beginning, I'm so heads down, just trying to keep the ship moving.
Yeah.
That it's hard to see all of the waves, ahead of you,
Yeah.
because I'm just steering the ship.
Yeah.
And so once we really got to rocking and rolling, again, it that felt like it just melted into um waiting for the permit, getting the permit and the license, and then literally 3 days later, I'm serving coffee.
Yeah.
And then, that was really supposed to be kind of a soft opening.
Mm-hmm.
And then, again, the word of mouth and the people posting about it, and somebody's like, "Oh, he open, all right, we up there,"
Mm-hmm.
and then that kind of just melted into just like we open.
When people like it, they love it.
Everybody's welcome, come through. And then next thing you know, it's October. So it's like, um, if I would have known at the beginning, like, all right, you're gonna be here every day, you might want to start making sure you have yourself in a position that you can have help,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that would have been clutch to know that then. But
Yeah.
everything just kind of was moving so fast, and it still is. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That by the time you look up because you feel like you're drowning, um, it's like, oh wow, it's we opened January 18th officially.
Mm-hmm.
You know, snow outside, it's cold, whatever. Next thing you know, it's April.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, wow, it's about to be our first summer. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, it's August, summer over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well, let's see if we can figure out some seasonal drinks. What we gonna do for this? And next thing you know, it's already middle of October. And so things move so quick that by the time I look up, that's just another thing to just navigate, to say, all right, now you need help. How are you gonna find it? Because
Yeah.
again, everything has been um so personal, just for lack of a better word. I know I keep
Yeah.
repeating that, but when people come in and they ask about certain pieces, I know the answer, because
Yeah.
I know where we got it from. I know why we put it there. I know what it means. And so that's not an easy thing to just pass off to somebody
To
else.
somebody else. Yeah. That makes a lot of
Um,
sense.
and so that part gets a little tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a interesting point. Especially, yeah, given how personal it is, I can imagine bringing a new person on. That's hard because you can't replicate that passion.
Yeah.
Um, and in some ways, you know, that's like I think about like McDonald's, right? Like if you watch the Founder movie, they talk about how the original brothers didn't want a franchise because they thought the quality was going to go down.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like that experience of being able to have a conversation and explain the story behind a piece of art. You lose that. That's an interesting problem. Like I hadn't even thought about that. No, that's very interesting. Um, all right. So what? Let's I'll hit you with a couple rapid fire ish questions. But
All
feel
right.
free to expound or take your time with it. Because they're probably, hopefully, they'll make you think and rack your brain a little bit. What's as a entrepreneur that's kind of been through not only starting the business, going through the process, but then also going through a once in a lifetime pandemic. What advice would you give someone else who's thinking about or is aspiring to be an entrepreneur? What helpful advice would you give them?
Have the right people around you.
Hmm.
People that are not only going to hold you accountable, but also offer you the type of support you need when you need it. Because sometimes it's not the resources. Sometimes you just got to vent. You know what I'm saying? And you need them people around you that's gonna let you just talk your shit.
Yeah.
And then tell you, all right, you done? Like,
Yeah.
get back to it. You know what I'm saying? Having the right people around you that will not only allow you to, get out what you need to get out, but are also willing to pour back into you. That's clutch.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to believe in your vision. It's something completely different to have other people that believe in you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I can't tell you the number of times that, people like, yo, what are you doing? Where we at? What's going on? What you need?
Yeah.
Nothing. All right. So what's up? What you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It humbles you, but it also pushes you to keep going. So I would say keep the right people around you.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. What coffee are you making yourself? Or are you ordering if you're a customer?
Man, it's interesting because every day it could be something different. If somebody comes in and orders, the lavender matcha, by the third time I'm making it, I'm like, I need one of these. You know what I'm saying? I need one. That's one of those drinks that after a minute, I can't keep making them and not have one myself.
Yeah.
If it's just me and I'm coming, I'm probably getting the Buena Gente, which is the brown sugar latte.
Okay.
Because it's simple, it's not super sweet. It has the right amount of, you know what I mean, razzle dazzle to get it done.
I think I might have to order that the next time I'm in the shop.
I got
you. What's your favorite to make?
My favorite to make?
For a customer.
Honestly, my favorite is probably the matcha, just because people are always surprised to see me doing it the traditional way. You know what I'm saying? And I got my little whisk and my little bowl. You know what I'm saying? And so, it's weird and interesting, and I have my own little thing in my head where it's like, man, I'm in here dressed like a rapper, whisking up matcha. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy putting those together.
What favorite album? I'll be easy. I won't say song. Favorite album to make coffee to?
Oh man. If I had to say an album, probably The Roots. Do You Want More? Because it has a nice little balance to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
Either that or Hiatus Coyote's last album.
What type of entrepreneur would you be most interested in listening to on the podcast?
I probably would be most interested in hearing so again, I hate to be long-winded about it, but the whole thing behind Muse in itself is just my particular appreciation for the process. And so I'm borderline infatuated with inspiration in general. You know what I'm saying? I'm the guy that loves the song, but I want to see the studio session. I want to see what went into getting them lyrics. I want to see what went into, producing the track, who said that, why they do that, you know what I'm saying? And so I think for me, I would really be interested in hearing an entrepreneur talk about just their process. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's somebody in fashion, somebody in music, I love hearing those types of stories.
Yeah. All right. I like that. We've got I've got an episode coming that I think you might be interested. Someone that owns a fashion store. So yeah, I'll definitely when I'm supposed to record it next week. So I'll once it's out there, I'll direct it and I'll send it to you. All right, last question. And I'm gonna steal this one.
I see you got the Trap Golf joint on.
Yeah.
I would love to hear his story.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to hear his story. I gotta find my way to him. I gotta find my way to Wayne.
Yeah, I would love to hear that, how that came about. That's the type of stuff that keeps me locked in. You know what I'm saying? Like how does one land on Trap Golf? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah,
that's fire.
All right, my last question, and I'm gonna steal this one from All the Smoke, the podcast with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. Who should I have on the podcast? And of course, you got to help me get that person on the podcast.
So since I've been open, you know, I've been able to meet a lot of dope people in the coffee space, just in the creative world. Specifically, this group, the Grocery Run Club.
Okay, they
do great stuff in the community with and I think they got their start during the pandemic too. Really just making grocery runs for people who needed.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then it just continued to grow. You know what I'm saying? They helped manage a couple community gardens. So I think they would be dope to have a conversation with. And then one of the homies who's just been a huge resource for me since I've been in this space, Melissa, who does Everybody's Busy.
Okay.
She's crazy with the just with the not only in the coffee space, but like her product line is bananas, you know what I'm saying? So I think she would be dope to have a conversation with, just to tap into, you know, what goes into creating a real brand identity. You know what I mean?
I love that. No, I would love to have them on the show, and I'm a bug you to get them on or broker an introduction at least.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, man. No, this was incredible, man. I really appreciate the time. This was just a lot of gems, a lot of nuggets, man. I can see all of the content and the quotes coming together, man. I appreciate it.
And I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, for sure.